Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Director, Department of Petroleum Resources, DPRO, the regulatory body that basically monitor oil and gas industry in Nigeria, on behalf of the Director, Mr. Mudekaya Babalada, I want to welcome everybody to this conference. I believe that in the next two days, we are going to go home with our value enhanced and also do a lot of networking and live here gets better in the way we have come. So I also want to seize this opportunity to thank the organizers for putting this together. It's an annual thing. I want to thank the exhibitors that will be exhibiting their products. I want to thank the participants and also the multimedia. We believe that in another 2 days, when we leave here, we will not be the same person again. Having said that, this morning, I'll be presenting on behalf of the department. I am Amadasu Enorense. Yes, you got it right, the head of upstream. I'll be presenting on well intervention operations and compliance issues. So in my presentation outline, we are going to be looking at the role of DPR, the legal framework for intervention operation in Nigeria. Then we'll look at what are those things that are responsible for all this, looking at it globally, global dynamics of the industry in terms of well intervention and development. And then we'll look at the regulatory value proposition for optimal well intervention. And then we'll zero in to look at the interventions, some case studies in the terms of intervention in Nigeria. And then we'll look at the distribution of feed performance in Nigeria, after which we'll then look at regulatory requirements. What are those things that you must put on board, especially with regards to service company and operators? We'll look at the challenges, and then we'll look at the way forward, and then we'll conclude. I believe that at the end, this should set the tune, for this conference. Just not to borrow too much, the role of the department is basically to regulate, to monitor all oil and gas activities in Nigeria, to optimize government take in terms of revenue ends and then stakeholder value creation. It's also to ensure efficient recovery. Yes, we used to say conservation of hydrocarbon resources, but these days things are moving away from that. We are now regulating, balancing both conservation, economics, and ensuring that all stakeholders maximize their take. We also administer and provide accurate industry data for investors, like some of us here, and for those that want to use it for their job, to carry out strategic planning, and also advise government in national planning. The Department of Petroleum Resources also promote and ensure that the industry is operated in a safe and secure environment. We also carry out all this in a sustainable manner, efficient, and then ensuring that everything is done in accordance with the provisions of the law. Looking at the regulatory framework, and I will zero in basically the vessel and operation. Basically, we take it from field development, which Section 37 of the Drilling and Production Regulation of 1969. But the main focus for this conference, not changed. Trying to put both of them together. The main focus for this conference will just be on rig and vessel operation, which Section 34 of the Drilling Regulation of 1969, handle, and we'll look at what we need to do before bringing in a vessel, the kind of statutory annual condition surveys that need to be carried out, the pre-license inspection that need to be carried out on your vessel, that will carry out the inspection, the intervention. And then we also look at the re-entry operation, which Section 32 of the Drilling Production and Regulation covers. And then we also have the well abandonments, which Section 35 of the Nigeria Drilling and Regulation of 1969 covers. Now let's look at the production and reserve status for Nigeria. As we speak, the oil and gas condensate is 2.1 million barrels of oil per day. In terms of reserve, oil and condensate is 37.001 billion barrels. For NAG and AG, the reserve is 200.79 trillion cubic feet of gas. In 2017, production, let's look at oil and gas production. Production was about 2.44 million barrels of oil per day. And then in 2018, it came down to 2.2 million barrels of oil per day. And we have seen a decline of about 11%. But this decline needs to be sustained, it needs to be resuscitated. And so that is why there is need for operators to intervene, carry out intervention in order to bring back take us to where we want to, the aspiration of governments. We have seen production decline. We have seen reserve decline. We have seen exploration decline. We have seen decline in capital investments. And the result of all this is coming from imbalance in oil and gas demand and supply, and also price of oil that is directly dictated by demand and supply. But it's not only demand and supply. There are so many other things, as you will agree with me, that dictate the price of oil that we also don't have control over. There is the geopolitics presently, the one we are seeing in Iran. There is the geopolitics presently, the one we are seeing in Venezuela. All this put together has a way of affecting the price of oil. We have also seen strong production growth outside OPEC, particularly coming from the United States of America. And of course, as a producing country, you are basically a price taker. You don't have so much influence on the outcome of that. And so this is a dilemma for us as a regulator. How do we ensure that the value that government wants to take is sustained? How do we ensure that the revenue that government wants to earn is increased? And so the need for intervention cannot be overemphasized. The regulatory value for optimal waste intervention practices will basically hinge on 4 pillars. Technology, the vessel and equipment you use, the regulation that will drive the process, and then, of course, cost efficiency. If we zero into technology, and basically that is why we are here, to network, to see some of those technology that we can deploy, to see how we can optimize production. So, incentivizing research and development, investment in production optimization is key. And then, of course, deploying all of that in order to get more production that is hanging behind the casing, those that the normal or routine production cannot get, is key. And of course, in doing all that, technology deployment has to go with cost efficiency. If you also move away from that, coming to vessel and equipment, you have to talk of how will all these vessels, in carrying out this work, also comply to regulation. We understand those that operate the rig, they comply very well. But over the years, as a regulator, we have seen that those that operate the vessel, because there was no license attached to them, they just come in, do whatever they want to do, and then go out. But I think for the past 3 or 4 years, we've been talking to them, and we have seen significant improvements in area of compliance with regulation and standards. If you also look at regulation, not only just leaving everything for the service company or the operators, the regulator also needs to understand that time is money. And so there is need for a timely approval of applications, and also creating that environment that we open up the industry for proper regulation that is not just command and control, but that will be incentivized when you do the right thing. And of course, also create that forum, just, this conference, to share knowledge and experience. And of course, in doing all this, it has to be cost efficient, rig versus rigless operation. And then, of course, in doing this, you want to carry out production optimization. You must look at the reserves. You must look at what is remaining, and of course, match it with the cost of operation. We also believe that in all this, to get it right, efforts are to be collaborative. The operator, the regulator, the service provider, they need to work together. So we look at intervention operation in Nigeria. We understand that well intervention is a necessary option, like I have said before, to optimize resource recovery and accelerate revenue for governments. And we also understand that the frequency of well intervention during the life of a feed is highly dependent on numerous variables, including your reservoir characteristics, infrastructure that is built on the wellbore, and of course, economic consideration I have highlighted before. The choice of the technique, the innovation, the technology, the equipment to deploy is also key. And all this depend on the subsurface condition, which determines the mechanical and economic success of the job that to carry out. The scope of work identifying well intervention, which we believe some of the technology we are going to be displaying, by the exhibitor and some of the papers that we presented during the conference, we include how you will intervene in area of well logging, perforation, well cleaning, fishing operation, fluid displacement in order to enhance recovery, through tubing, sand control, remedial cement work, and all that is listed. Still looking at the well intervention value addition in terms of Nigeria as a case study. In 2017, estimate of oil gain just from an above intervention operation in offshore was about 20,000 barrels per day from offshore. And out of these, 65,000 BOPD came from the other terrain, which is basically onshore. Nigeria, before we move, was basically most of our fields, are located in onshore. But we are seeing a lot of changes in that, especially with the advancement and development, increase in development in deep offshore. And we have also seen that intervention, the value we are getting, is now increasing. In 2018, we increased production by about 50,000 barrels per day just through intervention. And we believe, from what we have seen, that is also going to increase in 2019. And so this is basically opening up opportunities for investors, for service providers. Because Nigeria, we are moving gradually from onshore. There is increased activity in offshore and deep offshore. So the opportunity is opening, is increasing for all service providers. This is just to show you a chart of distribution of feed performance, especially from those where we have obtained between 1,000 to 5,000 barrels of oil per day This is just another distribution of feed performance, production performance for 5,000 to 10,000 barrels of oil per day, 10,000 barrels of oil per day to 20,000, and then the one that is greater than 50,000 barrels per day, looking at the deep offshore, just for our information. Okay, now what we also did was to carry out a case study on intervention cost and duration, because the application of technology has to be efficient. You also have to take costs along with it. For A and B, for 5 years behind, we are taking 5 years. So what the number there you see, 5 is 2018. 5 years behind for rig operation to the right of the screen, to the left of the screen, for rig that stayed for 7 days, the cost of operation was 8 million, and you see the costs just on the right hand side. But for vessel, you just discovered that the price came down drastically by carrying out intervention using vessel and not sticking to rig in terms of acid stimulation carried out on the rig. And then for where B, to the right of the screen, you also see the difference between rig costs in terms of its intervention on using acid for those number of days, from almost 9 million to 2.2 million for vessel intervention. But in doing all this, you have to also understand that the remaining reserve will also drive the process. The remaining reserve will have to match with the cost. And because we are almost at the era where we have to be thinking of enhanced oil recovery, where we have to be thinking of applying technology to get the little oil, to scoop the little oil from behind the casing and in the reservoir. So there is need for us to come together or start thinking of solution that will help at a very minimal cost to get the oil out. And from what we have seen, in 1 month, this operation will pay itself out. This is just to show, although this is supposed to be, a lot of the operators that deal with us, they know all this. But what I want to show to us, especially to the service company here, is that in carrying out your vessel intervention, in carrying out your rigless operation, there is need for you to have a valid rig or vessel license, or for you to get the appropriate permits. And of course, in doing that, you must ensure that you report appropriately to governments. So, what are those key intervention challenges in Nigeria? We have seen reduction in exploration activity, of course, for investment, because the oil price has been down for some time. We're just picking up. So in another 5 years, we are going to see increase in activity. So this is also an opportunity for service provider and investors to come and also key in and also help to bring the remaining hydrocarbon behind the casing. Due to high operational costs by the rig, as highlighted before, has been an issue. So vessel intervention, rigless intervention, technology that is cost efficient, is key to getting those hydrocarbon behind the casing. We have also seen as regulator non-compliance, growth in non-compliance, but we believe that our continuous engagement, sharing what the value you get by complying, by getting the appropriate permits on time, will be key. So what's the way forward? We believe that if you have a robust field development plan that we articulate everything that you need to carry out, that one is key. Smart well technologies for easy well intervention operation is also key. And of course, timely engagements and effective interface with management and with the regulator is key. Regulatory compliance by industry player is key. It's a collaborative thing. If you have issues that you think you need to discuss or why you think it will be difficult for you to comply, the regulator is open to engage you at any time because it has to be collaborative. And then, of course, we also understand that the ease of doing business is key to getting all this through. And so the department is working to ensure that all our processes are automated in order to bring to bear the ease of doing business and also enhance our reporting and monitoring of these interventions. In conclusion, we believe that emerging industry dynamics are reinforcing the importance of well intervention and rigorous operation and bringing those technologies that are efficient and cost efficient and low cost. We also believe that technology is a key enabler, and so we are here in another 2 days to share from technology that some of us already have so that we can take them back, understand them, and also see how we can adopt them to use in the industry. Technology is a key enabler to cost efficiency and production optimization. Regulatory compliance is also key. We believe that if we work together, where you have issues, you come to the department, but your compliance is key. And then we're also committed to optimizing the regulatory environment, creating that regulatory environment that will foster and enhance investors coming to invest so that everybody will maximize value from the operation. On this note, I want to thank you so much for your time and for inviting DPR. So this is DPR website. Thank you so much.